Greetings, I'm excited because I'm finally doing a what's in my case video, which is something I've been wanting to do for a little while now. I actually really enjoy these kinds of videos. They're all pretty darn similar, but something about them just really soothes me, and so here's my contribution. This is an American Dart Continental case. I think that's the name of this case. I found it on Shar. It's actually pretty new to me. I've had it for a little over a month now, and it's been a spectacular case to have. It's basically everything that I was wanting in a case. I like how minimal it is. It's also kind of classy and elegant, and it's pretty lightweight, but still robust and protects my violin very nicely. So we have a top compartment, which is probably the least interesting of all, so we'll just get that over with really quick. I have spare strings. These are both old sets. I've been using the Eva Perazzi Gold for, well, since 2021. So I keep track of all of my strings, my string changes, and the strings that I've used on this violin. I'm always tempted to experiment, but it's a really hard and expensive process and a bit risky. So I just have been sticking to what I know works and what I like. I do want to try something new, but every time it is that time to change strings, I'm like, nah, I chicken out and I just go with the Eva Perazzi again. Anyways, I also have a letter that I typed up for an update, just to kind of talk about where I am in my violin journey, since it has been so on and off throughout the years. I feel like having some sort of record of the things that I've worked on and when I've worked on them and how long I've worked on them is kind of nice, because it's really hard for me to remember what my overall violin experience is. I also have a letter that I wrote to myself in 2021. It says, "To Alicia, open when frustrated and uninspired and nothing else is seeming to work." I did open it, and I can't really remember if it actually did the trick. I can't remember like what happened with the violin after that. I know I didn't play violin in 2022, so. And then the last thing is this little, it's actually a book plate, but on the back of it I typed up some personal information, my phone number and email and my name, so that if this violin is found, hopefully someone would return it. I hope that would never happen. So anyways, this pocket, by the way, is not big enough to hold music, but that was not important to me because I don't want to put all that weight on one shoulder. Now let's see about opening this bottom compartment, if I can find where the zippers are. There are 3 different methods in which to keep this bottom, the main compartment, closed. We have these little like magnetic straps or snaps, and then we also have this. And now, dun da da da, here is the beautiful, luxurious, 100% burgundy velvet, 100% cotton burgundy velvet lining of the inside of this case, and it's so plush and so classy. It has, of course, a little blanket with a silk bottom, and then we have 2 bow holds. I have a wooden bow and a carbon fiber bow. The wooden bow is nothing special, and it's very warped, in fact, but this is what I primarily use for my classical music playing. And then I have a carbon fiber bow, which is actually the bow that I just prefer using, period, but my teacher prefers the sound of the wooden bow. My classical music teacher, that is. But anyways, I have a carbon fiber bow that is, the sound maybe isn't as exciting, but it's really consistent and steady and stable and easy to control. And I like to use this in my band practice and anytime I'm like goofing around and fiddling, if you will. The case also came with 2 things that I have yet to use and I don't know if I will use, but this is a string tube, and maybe I'll give it a try when I change my strings next time to put the used strings in this tube as extras. I feel like it will be challenging actually to get the string in the tube. I know like at that point they're pretty stretched out, but the part that's been tightly wound around the peg, I feel like that's gonna be hard to get into the tube, but you don't know until you try. So maybe I'll give it a try. I actually was looking for a case that didn't have these things, but it's really hard to find the perfect case that has everything you want and don't want. There also is a humidifier, I think. I have actually never seen anyone use these before. I have seen lots of people using dampits and other humidifying contraptions, but I've never seen people use these ones, so I'm not really sure how effective it is or how it's supposed to be used. Maybe it's not even, maybe it's to take humidity out. I don't know. That seems kind of counterintuitive. Honestly, I know these instruments really love a humid environment. I actually don't humidify my case. I live in a really dry climate, and I feel like I rather my instrument just be well adjusted to the environment in which it lives, rather than every time I bring it out of its case, it's like a shock to its system and it's like, anyways. And then of course I have my violin, which lives in a silk case, a silk bag, which I think does a lot for it, and it really helps insulate it very well. So I think this is, instead of using a humidifier, this is kind of my solution to just keep my violin protected. And then inside, of course, oh, and this, by the way, is from Carmen Bruna. I bought this a couple years ago on Etsy, and I don't know if they're still around, but I know that these are not hard to find. And some people even just use silk scarves and wrap up their instrument in a silk scarf. And then here's my violin. I've been kind of experimenting a little bit. I've been very uncomfortable with my chin rest and shoulder rest, and so I've been experimenting with different setups, and this is just strapped on with rubber bands, and it's a silk handkerchief that gives a little extra lift and padding. Maybe one day I'll try out a much taller chin rest. I don't know what I need yet. Still trying to work that out. Sometimes I feel like I could just do without. Honestly, I think I could actually play without a shoulder rest quite comfortably when I'm just playing in my band, in the band. It's not my band, it's the band. I didn't start the band, I just joined it. I don't know, saying my band sounds like it was my project, and it's not. Anyways, it's when I play classical music and I have to play in really higher up positions that suddenly no shoulder rest just feels very challenging. And so I do have a shoulder rest. There is a shoulder rest strap here on the side, and the shoulder rest I'm using is just this collapsible coon. I have an extra long foot on this side. This side is the part that goes on my chest. So I have some extra lift there. And then this is the other side, which is much shorter. And this has been chewed upon by my ferret. I don't know if you can see little tooth marks from Bean. He loves this kind of foamy texture. And if I am not careful, he will run away with things like that. And then probably the most interesting part of the case, I don't know, is all of the little accessories that I carry in this pocket here. There's only the one pocket on the inside, which I really like. I like having everything condensed in just one space. I have 2 cleaning cloths. These are just microfiber. This one has ribbons, which is really nice because you can shimmy it along the fingerboard underneath the strings or under the fingerboard on the instrument itself, and those straps make it really easy to do that. I also have my favorite metronome drone tuner combination. This is the Korg TM60. I've had this for years. and I just really like it. It tunes, of course, and you can set a drone, and you can set a metronome, and you can have a metronome and drone running at the same time. Just really helpful. I know that there are apps these days that do such things, maybe even more effectively, but I don't like having my phone when I practice necessarily, because I feel like it could potentially be a distraction. Then I have an eraser. This is my favorite eraser, Matomaru Kun. It's just a really good eraser. And this is the rosin that I'm using at the moment. I'm not a rosin expert, honestly. I feel like the differences that rosin makes are very subtle. But I decided to give this one a go when I broke my last cake, unfortunately, because these are the strings that I use, and this is kind of like its mate as far as rosin goes, and it's fine. I like it well enough. I don't know. And then I have some pig grease. My most valuable tool is these nail clippers. I like keeping my left hand fingernails really short, and sometimes I find that they have grown just a little bit too much before I start practicing, and it's nice to have fingernail clippers on hand. Usually, actually, it's the case right now, my left hand is always shorter than my right hand, because that's the one that matters the most to me. And then I have a Blackwing Palomino pencil. I have 3 different mutes. One is this very robust rubber mute that like really quiets the instrument quite a bit. I could probably play this in the middle of the night in a hotel room if I was brave enough and not bother people, I'm assuming. I would hope. But I don't want to test it just in case. That would be really obnoxious. And then this is a less robust mute. This one is wooden, and it just sits kind of up on top of the bridge. It doesn't actually go all the way down on the bridge. It's not meant to. And it still mutes the violin quite a bit, not as much as this one though. And then there is this one, which is a rubber orchestral mute, which barely dampens the sound of the violin. I actually got that orchestral mute because I thought maybe I could use that instead of wearing earplugs. But I just don't like practicing with mutes. If I can avoid practicing with mutes, I'd rather do that. So anyways, moving on, I have this little Lucky Pebble. My friend's son put this in my case many, many years ago, and it's just kind of always been there, and it will always remain there. I feel like it's a lucky pebble. I have a chin rest tool. This helps remove a chin rest or tighten it if it gets loose. And as I am wanting to do some experimenting with different setups, that will be really handy to have. I have earplugs, which I do use primarily during band practice. I actually wear one earplug in my right ear, which helps me to hear my violin better. And then when I'm practicing by myself, I put an earplug in my left ear, which helps soften the sound of the violin so that I don't damage my ears. And then I have some extra rubber bands, which are for that little silk cloth that I have on my chin rest. I have a bobby pin, a paper clip, what is that called? And some sticky notes, narrow sticky notes. I like to bookmark my music with these, like whatever I'm working on. And then a key to lock the case, which I don't use. And then here on the side, this case actually comes with a hygrometer, which I don't think I'll ever use. I appreciate that it's tucked away and out of sight. I had a hygrometer in my old case. I never looked at it. I never checked the reading, and then the battery died, and that was that. So this one still has the little like plastic cover on it and no batteries. So, and I wonder how efficient or how accurate the reading would be, since it is in this compartment that's kind of isolated from the main instrument compartment. I don't know. anyways, that is everything that is in my case, I believe. Nothing super fancy, but I really like it. This is a great case. My violin sits very snugly on the inside. There's lots of padding. It also does not sit on the bottom of the case. It's floating a little bit. It's raised up on these little foam ledges, which is really nice. My prior case had zero padding, nor did it have any straps or anything to hold the violin in place, so it was always loose in there. It's kind of scary. It was a beautiful vintage Roth case, gorgeous, but yeah, I did not trust it. I didn't trust the closures either, and would always carry it under my arm because I was worried that it would just like fall open one day and out would fall my violin. So anyways, much happier with this. That is all. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.